The city of Ireko never sleeps. Neon lights flicker late into the night, and the horns of impatient cars echo like endless arguments. Beneath its towering buildings and corporate offices, life is fast, loud, and uncaring, especially for those who have nothing. Temi lives in this chaos, but she moves through it like a whisper. No older than 17, she sleeps near the rusted train station under a crooked billboard that once advertised bottled water. The city barely notices her. Another homeless girl with a thin frame, calloused feet, and stubborn eyes. She wasn't always on the streets. Her parents died during a violent political riot that swept through the slums 2 years ago. Since then, she's been alone. With no family, no support, and no government protection, Temi learned to survive by collecting plastic bottles from trash heaps, cleaning dusty car windows at traffic stops, and hoping for loose coins. But even in hunger, she holds her head high. She never begs. She never steals. She eats what she earns and shares what she can, even if it's only a broken piece of bread tossed to the birds. Her pride is not the loud kind. It's in how she stands, in how she says thank you, and in how she refuses to lie for food. Vendors at the station know her. Some admire her, some ignore her. One old woman once told her, "You have the heart of someone rich, just born in the wrong place." Still, Temi never complains. She's learned that pity can be as cruel as hunger. She's seen how people in cars glance away when she passes, as if looking at her might stain their conscience. Yet through it all, something in Temi's spirit stays warm. She has no pillow to rest her head, but she has dignity, and that no city can take from her. The rain fell in thin, sharp needles, slicing through the noise of the morning crowd. Ireko's streets were alive with honking buses, vendors shouting prices, and umbrellas bumping shoulders. Near a fruit stall, half hidden under a torn tarp, sat an old man. His clothes soaked through, his skin wrinkled and pale. His eyes the soft, clouded grey of blindness. He didn't beg. He just sat there, his head tilted slightly upward, as if listening to the rhythm of the city he could no longer see. Some walked around him. Others muttered cruel jokes. One woman dropped a spoiled mango near him and walked away laughing. Temi noticed him as she was heading back to her spot near the station. She had just bought a meat pie, her only meal for the day. It was warm in her hands, the smell teasing her already empty stomach. She could have walked past. No one would have blamed her. But she didn't. She paused, torn between survival and something deeper. Then, wordlessly, she stepped closer and knelt beside the man. His eyes didn't follow her, but his body tensed, as if surprised someone was near. She placed the meat pie gently in his hand and said softly, "At least today, you don't go hungry." The man didn't speak at first. He simply held the food like it was treasure. Then slowly, he reached out, touched her face, his fingers light and careful as if memorizing it. "You have kind eyes," he whispered, "but the world has given you nothing." Temi smiled faintly. Maybe the world is still deciding. She stood, nodded, and walked away without asking his name. What she didn't notice was the black car parked across the street, engine silent, windows tinted, watching the entire moment unfold. For 2 days after the rainy morning, the blind man disappeared. Temi looked for him near the same fruit stall where he had sat, but the spot was empty. No torn tarp, no half-eaten fruit, no sign he had ever been there. She asked around casually, not out of deep concern, but out of curiosity. Something about him lingered in her mind. Street vendors had their own versions of what happened. Maybe the police took him. "I heard he died in the alley behind the mosque. Some say he was a mad prophet. Maybe he just vanished." Temi didn't know what to believe, but a strange weight hung in the air. as if something unfinished was waiting to reveal itself. Then, on the third day, a black car returned to the station. This time the door opened. A tall woman in a crisp grey suit stepped out, holding a leather-bound folder. She scanned the area like she was looking for someone specific. Her heels clicked with certainty on the wet pavement. She began asking questions. Where is the girl named Temi? She's about 17. Slim. Short hair. Quiet. Where does she sleep? The street kids scattered like startled birds. They'd learned long ago that when people in suits come asking questions, it's never good. Adults turned their backs. One vendor claimed to have never heard of any Temi. But someone spoke, quietly. One of the children pointed in the direction of the station billboard. That evening, as the sky turned gold, Temi sat with her knees pulled to her chest beneath the billboard. Her meal was a half-dry bread roll she'd earned from washing a taxi's window. The woman in the grey suit appeared, standing just far enough not to startle her. I don't want anything from you, she said gently. But the man you fed, he remembers. Temi narrowed her eyes. What man? The woman smiled. The one you didn't ignore. She held out a clean scarf and a small packet of warm food. Then she said quietly, he wants to speak with you. Temi had never been inside a car like this before. Smooth leather seats, quiet engine, tinted glass that blocked the outside world. She sat stiffly, unsure if she should speak or stay silent. The woman beside her said nothing during the drive, only offering a warm smile from time to time. They arrived not at a mansion or palace, but at a quiet private hospital tucked behind high walls and manicured gardens. Security let them in with a nod. Nurses greeted them by name. Temi's heart raced. She was led to a spacious room with white curtains, polished floors, and a scent of fresh flowers. And there, sitting upright on a bed, dressed in a clean white robe, was the same man she had fed 3 days ago. But everything about him had changed. His beard was trimmed. His skin, though aged, glowed with health. And most striking of all, his eyes were clear, sharp, alert, not blind. Temi froze at the door. He smiled. You look just as I remembered, he said. She swallowed hard. You can see? He nodded. I always could. I wasn't blind. Not to your heart. Then he told her the truth. His name was Alhaji Ibrahim Cole, founder and CEO of Coltech Group, one of the largest business empires in the country. The very towers she slept under were built by his company. But after a betrayal from people he trusted, friends who stole, lied, and left him broken, he vanished from the spotlight. I had wealth, cars, power, he said, but I lost faith in people. I needed to see if anyone had value when stripped of everything. So he spent 10 days on the streets, dressed in rags. Only one person treated me like a human. He looked at Temi, eyes full of quiet respect. You. Temi sat still, hands folded tightly in her lap, her eyes fixed on the floor of the hospital suite. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. Her mind was racing, but her face gave nothing away. Across from her, Alhaji Ibrahim watched her with quiet understanding. I owe you, he said softly. More than I can repay. Temi shook her head. You don't owe me anything. He leaned forward. Then at least tell me what you want most. She hesitated. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, a place to sleep, where I don't have to keep one eye open. He nodded once. Done. And more. Within days, everything changed. Temi was moved into a warm 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet, secure neighborhood. She was enrolled in a top secondary school, given clean uniforms, books, and a mentor to guide her through her studies. But that was only the beginning. Alhaji Ibrahim launched a new charity under Coltech, the Kindness Fund, dedicated to helping homeless youth across the country. And Temi, the girl who once shared her last meal, became the face of it. News stations told her story. Magazines wrote articles. Social media called her the girl with the kindest heart. But Temi stayed grounded. She returned to the train station, dressed simply but clean, handing out food packets, clean water, and warm blankets to the same people who once looked through her. Some of those who had laughed at her hunger now lowered their heads, ashamed, but she never mocked them. She never acted like royalty. When someone asked, "What made you help a blind beggar?" she simply replied, "I didn't feed a billionaire. I fed a hungry man." And in that one sentence, the world remembered what kindness truly looked like. Years passed, and the city of Areko changed. Its skyline stretched taller, its people moved faster, and yet one image remained at the heart of it all. Painted on the side of a towering building downtown, a mural showed a barefoot girl kneeling, offering food to a blind beggar. Bright colours brought the moment to life, a quiet act, frozen in time. Beneath it, bold letters read, "Compassion changes everything." That girl was Temi. Her story had become legend. Children in schools studied her in civic lessons. Market sellers quoted her in daily banter. News anchors mentioned her name during charity drives. She had become a national voice, not for power, but for heart. Alhaji Ibrahim had long since stepped away from public life. He retired quietly, giving the majority of his fortune to the Kindness Fund. When he passed, there was no grand parade, just a private service attended by those who had known his true heart. Temi stood before his casket and said. She turned and walked away, just as she had done the day Mama Rena locked her in the goat pen. Mama Rena ate in silence that day. No servants, no flattery, no attention. Just food, and the heavy taste of regret. And in that silence, the lesson was louder than any punishment. Years drifted by like petals on a slow river. The House of Heart had expanded. What once was a small hall had become a full village centre, with a clinic, a library, gardens, and a storytelling circle shaded by a giant tree. That tree, now old and full, still stood at the very place where Zula had first met the man in rags, the man who changed her life with a whisper and a test. And every week, Zula returned to sit beneath it. No longer barefoot, but still simple in her dress, she gathered the children at her feet. They came running from across the village, eager to sit in her circle, girls with wild hair, boys with scraped knees, little ones holding bowls of rice. She didn't read from scrolls. She told stories from memory, from her soul. She spoke of a time when the land was dry and people's hearts were drier, of how a girl with no riches gave away her last meal, of how that simple act changed the course of a kingdom. Sometimes she pointed at the tree. "Right there," she'd say. "He stepped out of a chariot, but I had already seen him under this sky, tired, dusty, and starving." The children gasped every time, as if hearing it for the first time. One little girl, curious-eyed, once asked, "Did you know he was powerful?" Zula smiled. "Number, I just knew he was hungry." Obasi had passed on years before, peacefully, under the same mango tree where he had mentored her. His grave was simple, surrounded by white flowers. On it, Zula had carved a single line. He tested hearts and found his answer. As the sun set and the children began to drift off, Zula recited her final words. The words every child in Odimba now knew by heart. The smallest gift can grow into the biggest kingdom if the heart is right. And as the wind rustled through the leaves above, the village below seemed to pause, as if the land itself was still listening to the girl who once gave away her last yam and gained the world.